Let me ask you, in this race, one of the issues that's coming up right now is law enforcement background. And as you know, I guess the requirement of sheriff, there is no requirement for law enforcement background to run for sheriff. And one on the Republican side, as you know, Lieutenant Governor, before she was Lieutenant Governor, was Monmouth County Sheriff. And,
right.
And she has I guess she had a prosecutor background, because she worked in the district attorney's office.
I believe so. I don't know
her
background that well.
And she had, but she did not have a police background. But what's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you feel that it's necessary?
My feeling would be that if you're going to be a serving county sheriff in any county in the state of New Jersey, that you should have some type of law enforcement background. I mean, it could be a prosecutor or a police officer or federal officer like myself. But I think in order to perform the job the way it should be, and to be able to communicate with your staff and other agencies, I think to be most effective, you really need to have a law enforcement background. I mean, and I say that by education. I say that by being on the job in some capacity.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing your opponent may say is that he does have some administrative background. In fact, I think he's been in the sheriff's office now for 11 years now. Mm-hmm. It's we've been on the payroll for 11 years. So his background more is an administrative. When you were in the FBI, I mean, did you have administrative background experience? You were a special agent.
Well, I was a special agent with the FBI. I started out my career in working foreign counterintelligence work for the first 25% of my career or so, from 1988 until about 1997, which is very similar to organized crime investigations, but administrative. By that you mean managerial,
or anything related to that? Do you get people under you at all? Or?
I did some work as what they call relief supervisors work. In other words, if your supervisor was not available, or he was out of town, or she was out of town, I would fill in. You know, and other people did the same thing. In the FBI, there are two ways you can really go in terms of your career. You can go on the management track, or you can remain an agent. I chose to remain an agent because I really didn't care for the management side that much. I wanted to be out in the field as much as I could, and I just enjoyed that more. But that's a choice people make, during their career. A lot of times, if you go on the management track in the FBI, it means a lot of movement, and that can affect not just yourself, but it can affect your children and your wife, and possible, employment that she would have, or school situations with children and that kind of thing. And we have 3 children, and in bringing them up, we tried to be as cognizant about that as we could, and give them the most stable background as we possibly could.
Discuss a little bit about your experience, both in the sheriff's office and also the experience you had prior to coming. Obviously, Sheriff Falk hired you, I believe, right?
He did. Yes. Yeah.
What was some
the boss made his own decisions. Yes.
What was some of the experiences, say, prior to and now, since you've been?
Well, sure. I've been in the private sector for almost 30 years, almost 25 years before I became an undersheriff with Ralph. I worked for ITT, I worked for the family restaurants. I've managed and supervised, literally, I thought about it about a couple weeks ago, literally a couple thousand people over the years in terms of hire, fire, and manage. At ITT Avionics, where I was for 10 years, we actually developed and built the ECM system for the B-52, the electronic countermeasure system. And we had a growth project. So a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of people. But it was an opportunity to be part of that, part of my family's restaurants. We had the opportunity to grow with folks. And here at the Sheriff's Office, had the opportunity to work with literally hundreds of people over the years in terms of managing and making sure that our performance has been stellar. As an undersheriff, I have been responsible for the K-9 unit, internal affairs, Office of Professional Standards, our budgeting, as you know, as from someone who covers the meetings when I come and do the requests, and most importantly, in the sheriff's absence, I've been responsible for the entire office for a variety of times.